everybody, it's Cinnamon Coney, your Art Sherpa, and today we are going to have such a good time together. I'm going to show you how you can create for yourself at home, step by step, how to create this autumn forest path. This is a wonderful forest path. It invites you in. We've got lots of trees, lots of techniques. I'm going to explain every part of the creation of this painting. No fast forward, no skipping through. Every brush stroke is explained. On the mic is my husband, John.
Hello.
To help me bring this very well explained lesson to you, he makes sure that as I'm demonstrating a technique, explaining a color mix, showing you a tool, that the camera is pointed exactly at what I'm demonstrating so that you can see it for yourself at home, because what you can see, you can generally paint. Now, if you check the description below, there's a whole bunch of extra stuff. I am going to show you exactly how to draw this particular painting in, and I think it's best to go along in the layers, but just in case the drawing is just, you're like, I can't even, not even a little bit, there is a traceable in there for you to use and transfer on if that will help you. And that's free. Just download that. There's also the materials in the description. I've got timestamps so you can tell how long the lesson is, and also so you can save your place in the lesson. It's got chapter marks so you can save your place. And that really helps you. There's also a link to my website. Definitely sign up for the newsletter so you can know when lessons like this are coming out. And also be sure and check out my store, because maybe something I'm demonstrating, one of the brushes I'm using, a color that I've got, something in here interests you. I've got that available in my art store. So that's all of the plugs. Really nothing else to say except I am ready to show you for real how you can paint this painting. Get your paint, get your brushes, come back and meet me at the easel right now. We're going to paint this together. So for today's class, I have an 11 by 14 canvas, and on my palette, I have the following colors: Mars Black, Burnt Sienna, Yellow Ochre, Cad Yellow Medium, Cad Red Medium, Quinacridone Magenta, Phthalo Blue, Ultramarine Blue, Dioxazine Purple. This is Titanium White. This is also titanium white. This here, though, is some satin glazing liquid. This slows down the drying time of my paint, allows me to do effects like mist and smoke and distance. I really like it, and allows me to glaze just generally for things like shadows. So I like to have it on the palette. I've also got a bottle of water. This is just a misting bottle with plain H2O in it. All right, let's throw up the first step. Step one is knowing where things are. So from the bottom, 4.5 inches up from the bottom, everything here is going to be a kind of dark brown, and everything up here is going to be a light blue. So again, that's 4.5 inches from the bottom is the line that we're drawing. And I will do that for you as I paint the background. So the first thing I'll do is I'll take a little bit of my phthalo blue and a little bit of my ultramarine blue, and I will mix it into my white, making a very light blue. It doesn't take very much blue paint to make a super light blue. Now, I don't want it to be like a strong dark blue, because this is a bright sky day, and a lot of times on bright sky days, the background almost reads as white. Not on all of them, but on many of them. So I'm just pulling this here. And if I need more, I can mix more. But now I have my value. I know what that is. So we're going to take a light blue. And I'll go ahead and grab one of these 1-inch oval mops, just because it's a big brush that lets me paint a large area. And I'll get some glazing liquid in it so that the paint isn't drying on my brush, and load up. It also helps improve the flow of the paint. And I'll come right down to that 4.5 from the bottom mark. I'll come across. And go across here. It doesn't have to be like, you know how in water we have to have that perfect horizon line?
Yeah.
We don't have to have that here.
This is a very subtle color.
It's a super subtle color. It's like practically a color you'd put in a baby's nursery. You know, that soft pastel blue. Just brushing that out here. Sometimes get my glazing liquid. The glazing liquid also, it's an extender for acrylic paint. It makes the amount of paint you have go further. You can use water if you don't have the glazing liquid. You can absolutely use water with acrylic paint. Sometimes you'll hear people say that you can't, but that's not actually true. It was made to work with acrylic paint. I mean, made to work with water. That's why it's a water-soluble paint. It's like its whole selling feature. So I just want this background to be this just solid field of light blue. Look how just barely blue it is compared to the white. But it is, to your eye, distinctively blue. And then in contrast to everything else around it, it'll be really interesting because sometimes it'll feel more blue than other times, and that's a lot about color relativity. How colors feel about each other relatively.
Interesting.
All right, I'm going to take a little bit of my burnt sienna and my Mars black, and I'm going to make a nice dark brown color. Nice chocolate brown. I might grab some glazing liquid too, so it has nice blendability. And I'll just paint the bottom. With this dark brown.
That's nice. Vigo's been very studio today.
He's been very studio.
He's like roaming around here today. You may hear him in the background telling us to pet him.
Well, you know, live shows do not mean that pets are not happening.
That is true.
In the cat world, pets happen when pets are demanded. No sooner, no later. Only when asked.
That's true.
Just coming here. It doesn't have to be a very thick or heavy color. It could be a little bit streaky. You just want the canvas completely covered with a kind of dark chocolatey brown. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And we don't have to hold this perfectly because there's sort of a misty area back here, but we know we have depth coming down and we have like deep bushes, and so this will help us have dark value in the forest floor where the shadows are. I am rinsing off my brush and I am drying it, and what you need to do now is dry your painting. I'm going to dry mine. I had a little drop there, it doesn't matter. Dry my painting with a hair dryer. I'm going to do it on a cool setting, and what you need to do at home is, if you're air drying your painting or hair drying your painting, also a cool setting, you push pause on me, whether it's live, premiere, replay. Push pause on me and then hit play when your painting is dry, and that'll keep us painting together. All right, let's dry our paintings. When we come back, I'll tell you what we do next. So now I'm going to want to make some distant kind of misty, moody effect here. And to do that, I will go ahead and mix a little bit of my gray. My gray is going to be burnt sienna and a little bit of ultramarine blue. I'm going to use an artist knife to mix it. Come over here and mix it up. Little bit of gray. It's more blue than brown to get it. And this is going to be my distant little tree gray. Paper is messing with me today. A little more blue over there. So you see I'm just finding that gray in that. And I need a little bit of it. Then once you have a little bit of that gray worked out, you're going to take some white. And mix a nice distant foliage. See how we're doing?
Mm-hmm.
Grabbing a little more pigment so that I can make sure that this is a nice affectation on the painting. A little more blue. Sometimes when you mix up a color with your artist knife, it makes it where you don't have to like go back and mix again and go back and mix again and go back and mix again.
Yeah.
So if you have a large area where you know you're going to be putting a lot of color down, it's a really good idea to kind of mix some of it up ahead of time. Now I'm going to take my 1-inch Princeton Select, and I'm going to want to have kind of a distant fuzzy bokeh feeling. So I'm going to just go ahead and grab a little of my sky color again with some glazing liquid. It doesn't have to be a lot. And I'm going to go ahead and sort of reactivate
Yeah.
I'll leave this dry, but I'm going to kind of put some up top. Just a little bit of the paint that we can be blending into as we're going, right?
Right.
So just a little bit there. And then I'm going to grab some of my blue-gray, come above here, and I'm going to just curl up, little curling strokes, a little bit of distant. This is distant forest. Grabbed a little bit of water so that my paint would flow out a little better. Now up here, the distant forest goes way up. And then it comes down in a steep little bank. And I'm just making little curve strokes, blending this into the background. I'm working pretty quickly to get the effect. And you can see that the edge that's where it's wet into wet paint is a little bit softer than this edge, which is wet paint on dry. Brushing it out into the forest, blending it in. Blend, 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 blend. Come up the corner. Maybe a little bit of kind of distant fall here. Rinse out a bit. Wipe off my brush, and I'm going to come back with a little bit of my sky color and kind of blend that down a bit. It's a little more misty.
Yeah.
A far off distance. I'm just making sure this is misted. All this is going to be painted over, so don't worry about doing the best work of your life here.
All right.
It's a good time to practice some techniques. Absolutely, lean into that. But right now, you're just trying to create a gradated, distant, fuzzy value that's misty. This brush is super helpful with that.
Right.
Just so you know, the brush is absolutely helpful. All right, I'm going to rinse this brush out, and I'm going to, again, dry it off with a towel because I don't leave it with all that soaking water in it. I'm going to dry this again. I'm going to dry this, and then when I come back, I'm going to show you what we do next. So in this step, I'm going to take a number 6 Raphael sepia round. I'm going to mix a little of my burnt sienna into my blue-gray color. Just darkens it a little bit. Might even get a little blue into it. So it's like a shade darker, right, than the background color. I'm going to load up on the toe. I'm going to come right up here. Paint some distant little trees that are there. I might grab some glazing liquid just so that the paint flows off my brush better. It does help sometimes improve that flow. Just a busy, busy, busy. I'm going to take a little bit on my brush here. I'm just going to wiggle. slightly darker. So I'm just wiggling it. Just wiggling my brush. It's creating that uneven little distant bushes. Now while I'm here, I'm going to go back into I'm going to use a number 12 round blender. This is like the most fabulous like acrylic brush for doing soft effects, and I've done whole paintings like practically with it. Come here and make sure that we're just making sure that this looks like it's got some distant little tops to trees. Scrubby, scrubby, scrubby. See, it's kind of a scrubby stroke.
Yeah, very cool scrubby stroke.
Very, very cool. That's all it takes. Just some little scrubbing. All right, I'm going to rinse that out for a second. Putting all these brushes to the side because I'll be using them again. I don't need to dry anything, but let's call this next part another step because it's going to help us separate it up in our minds, in our mind's eye. Step 4, I'm going to use my number 20 round d'Argent brush. Any round, you could use a synthetic round. I like the way that the bristles are tapered. It allows me to do dry brushing and distant diffused effects. So that's why I'm choosing this brush with this shape. Now I'm going to come here and take a little bit of my ultramarine blue and put it into my quinacridone magenta and create kind of a burgundy or wine color. I might grab a little white into it. Just a smidge. I'm going to just talk about some little distant trees that are maybe here. I've got lots and lots of trees to add to the space, so this is just some distant feeling, kind of like this will be showing through. And as I come down, I might add a little more white into it, like for down here. And that's just so that I can come back with like the dark magenta. Just bringing this back and forth. See how we're doing?
Totally.
This is distant into the painting. I just grabbed some glazing liquid to improve the flow off my brush. A little more magenta as it comes forward. I'm going to get a little more white into my brush. Sort of wiggle that in. See how we're doing? It's very misty.
Yeah.
Very lightly dry brushed here, so it's just diffused, diffused, diffused. Come over here and grab some glazing liquid so that I can do the same on this side. Our mixture is a little ultramarine blue and a little magenta. I get a little bit darker as it comes down over on this side. As I'm coming through here, I might go ahead and get into my blue, my ultramarine blue. Just coming through here and making little diffused, distant bushes. Barely see them. And it's okay, I might come down here and just kind of diffuse this. I might grab a little bit of this. Maybe, interestingly enough, a little of the oxazine purple. See that color? That's not bad. Dance a little bush. Dance a little bush.
It is.
Dance it. Dance it. Dance it. I'm looking to make irregular up and down shapes. It's not, it might look a little bit like magic, maybe. When you see it go in, like, oh, there's a bush. Oh, there's a tree. But really, I'm just paying attention very much to making irregular little bush-style shapes.
Sorry, for those who are watching along at home, I noticed you guys, you may have seen the camera dim there for a second. I have a little button back here that I pushed by accident, so sorry, I'm not meaning to do that.
All right, I'm going to grab a little bit of my dioxazine purple and quin magenta on my round brush. I'll come here too. Just little distant little treelets. Little upward strokes. I'm on my toe of my brush and I go upwards, I release the pressure and flick. I go upwards, release the pressure and flick. I want thin lines and thick lines, and I want this to feel very full. So that our forest feels like very populated. Very, very populated. All right, let's dry everything with our hairdryer. When we come back, I'll show you what we do next. So now I'm going to take a little of my ultramarine blue, and I'm using a number 6 Raphael d'Artigny. So it's just a smaller version of the big round brush. I'm going to take it over to my cad yellow medium, and I'm going to make a green gold. I talk about this a lot, that you can make a green gold with cad yellow. I often get there using phthalo green, burnt sienna, and cad yellow, but today we're actually mixing all of our greens. come here and start to paint I want deeper green, I just have more blue in it. See, that just gives me a deeper green.
Yeah.
Just wiggling this around, painting in the shape of my tree. As I come towards this opening, I add more yellow. Tapping little irregular shapes. Blend back into this little tree here. Get a little more yellow on there. Just little distant, little bits of distance something, right?
Totally.
Little bits of distance something right here. Maybe a little more green. Let's go ahead and just sort of paint the shape of this little tree here. A little more yellow to this outside. Back into my dark. Kind of blend some of the dark into some of these little highlights, create deep shadows in our little tree. I'm going to rinse out. I'm going to get just the tip of my brush and I'm going to take my sky color, which was a little of my ultramarine blue, a little phthalo blue, a lot of titanium white. We're going to paint little spots of light coming through that tree. So it's sort of interesting to figure out how you want to do that, how you want to make those little holes in the tree.
Mm-hmm. Let the sky through a little bit.
Let the sky through a little bit. The art thinking of it, what they would say to you if you were in art school is leave room for birds to fly through and squirrels to jump from branch to branch.
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
Just kind of tapping that out so that that's a little more pieced there. I'm going to rinse out. And so I'm going to come here and continue to sort of darken this area. I'm going to take a little bit of my ultramarine blue and a little of my burnt sienna. I'll mix it over here where I had my distant tree color. Make a dark, dark version of that. I'm going to just very carefully bring some of this down low. I'm going to wipe this off on a towel so I have just a little less pigment on it. And I'm going to just very carefully dry brush, blend here. See how I'm doing?
Totally, yeah.
Little circular motions, I'm just dry brush blending. I'll rinse out. So I've got some nice dark there. I'm going to come back into my sky color, just real quick, a couple places, and I'm going to come here. We'll probably put more holes back in once we paint the trees in front, but we just want to have some holes in our tree. Tapping up and down, kind of making it irregular. There we go. Little holes in the trees. Getting some of that sparkly little light in. See, we're getting some beautiful light effects from this.
Very cool light effect.
And while I'm at this, I'm going to take a little bit of my cad red and my cad yellow together. Get a little burnt sienna in it. Smidge of green. I'm going to tap out a little bit of a bush. Blend it back into this bush. Rub that out. I'll go ahead and get a little more yellow into that mix. Okay. All right. Now I need to dry everything, and when we come back, I will show you what we do next. Now, to sort of anchor the rest of this, I need to figure out my little foresty path, and I know I've got a little bit of the path that kind of comes down here at an angle, and then it kind of comes from here and then opens up to about there. So to paint it in, I'm going to take a little bit of my black and my burnt sienna. I'm going to go ahead and making horizontal little brush strokes. Paint the darkest shadow of my path. Actually, the whole path is much lighter than this, but we're going to build it up off of these shadows here.
Right, you got to get those shadows in there first.
Well, and it's just a good way to sketch in the path. Let you know where you're going. Do you know where you're going to? Do you like the things that I've been showing you? I do when I'm painting.
That's true.
I'm just scribbling this in. I'm using that same brush. I'm just using that number 6, the Artany brush. I'm just kind of putting in what I think is going to be my walking path. And it may get shortened. I'm going to get some purple here. go ahead and blend some little purple into the path. And then while I'm here, I'm going to take a little bit, I'm going to have to put out some more ultramarine blue. And I didn't even think I was going to use that much ultramarine blue this particular painting.
That's okay.
And I'm using so much. I was going to use more phthalo blue than ultramarine blue.
I like the ultramarine.
What makes it makes the green golds that we're going for. And we can get some deep alternate greens with the phthalo blues and the cad yellow. So we're going to have some fun.
Yeah.
We're going to have some fun. I'm going to take a little bit of my ultramarine blue over to my cad yellow. Make my dark green. Come in here and start to green it up to about midway. I'm going to grab a little purple. And take a little bit of this purple. Purple's a fun underpainting color. It really is. Especially in an autumn scene. It's super duper fun. Okay. I am going to get a little more yellow into my green here. Just pull some little path forward. Just the start of it. I'm going to put some of that little green over here since I have it on my little brush. Put it right there. Maybe some back here. Just starting to get like the under colors of the forest going. That's what we're doing. I'm going to take a little bit of my Doc's purple and my Quin magenta. And come through here. Kind of popped out a little bit of that green more than I wanted to, but that's okay. It's easy to put back. The back here be very, very purple. And then I'm going to use a little purple and burnt sienna for this forward shadow. Even darker, isn't it? I'm just wiggling my brush back and forth.
Yeah.
Blend in that green a little bit, and we'll come back and pop it again. A little bit of my Doc's purple. Just darkening this area up. Could you use black? You could, but I like to keep blacks for specific things and use value and everything to kind of push stuff.
Yeah, I've heard on landscapes it's you should avoid using blacks.
Well, yes and no. Blacks have a place, but you don't want to use black only. So where that recommendation comes from that teachers make is that sometimes students use black entirely to shade every color. Oh. And because black is essentially blue, it can dull color. And I know it's hard to think of it that way, but in color mixing, just mix some yellow with black and you're going to get green. You're going to get some deep greens. And a lot of landscape artists do that. They do yellow and black to create some more of the muted greens. But when you do it just all of it all over, it does create kind of a dullness to the painting.
Yeah.
But you do use black in landscape painting all the time. I think what happens is sometimes teachers are just trying to keep students from
making the basic mistakes.
Yeah, and so they make these generalized comments. And we're coming here and just kind of misting up some stuff. I'm going to add a little white to my mix over here, my quinacridone and my Doc's purple, and I'm going to start to maybe add some misting effects.
It also sort of speaks to a larger sort of philosophical approach, I think, that happens in art where, you know, a rule is made and then it is broken. And those rules are designed to help you grow and change over time. Because that seems kind of like, for me, like not being a, you know.
I think that's an interesting way of looking at it. It's a good way of looking at it. I think it's best to just think of things as having guidelines in art, with the exception of safety.
Yeah.
Safety's no joke. I'm just pulling this forward, trying to create some little ground atmosphere. Little ground atmospheric kind of effects. Creating some little misty effect there. All right, now I want to dry everything and come back. We're going to do our next fun layer of this endlessly layered forest. So for this next step, I'm going to grab my number 6 Raphael d'Argenté brush. This is that round hog bristle. I'm going to start working a little bit over here. Let's begin with a bit of my cad yellow and my cad red. I'm going to smidge a bit of my quinacridone magenta in there, and I'm going to add some white. It's almost like a peach that I'm going to get. A little more magenta. There we go. I'm going to come right here. I'm going to make sure that this isn't on my brush too strong, and I'm going to start to do some some distant little fall tree that's right here. See, I'm just wiggling my brush around. I'm working it from the mid-belly to the toe, making irregular shapes. I'm letting lots of the background show through. You might lose some of it as you layer the trees, so be kind of relaxed with yourself. Come down here and add just a little. Maybe a little more cad yellow and cad red, more of an orange. Or red in that orange. Tapping that sort of up and down there. Kind of building that out. I'll rinse out. And I'm going to come back over here. And I think I will take a little bit of my dioxazine purple and my cad red. Mix that to a nice little Merlot. Start to build up another layer of tree here. You want to have like the different colors that are they're kind of peeking through. We may have to come back and put those back in. take this off the edge there to make sure that I've got nice solid get a little more red into that as I come forward. So many little distant trees that are peeking through. Little low bushes. Has a bit of a red hue to it. Just we're filling up. Fill up the forest. As you do, like you do. Added a little white. I'm going to kind of put some maybe low mist effect. Come back into my peach here a bit. Touch up some on my toe. I'm adding little light leaves that could be peeking out here that would be giving us some juiciness. A little bit of that peach back here. It's just nice because it just layers up. Then I'm going to want to come through here a little more cad red, a little more cad yellow. I want to, oh, that's too much cad yellow. Sometimes it'll happen. You'll be working your brush and you're like, whoa! I'll take that orange over to my purple, and it's going to give me a little bit of brown. It'll also let me kind of work out remember, we've got sky color we can put back in. We've got background color we can put back in. So sometimes it's easier to just get the value in the shape and then come and put back what you see through the tree. Not always easier, but sometimes easier. Adding a little more purple as I come back. A little more red as I come down.
There's a lot of color in this one.
So much color. So much color in this one. Maybe a little more into that orange here, and we'll kind of fill this up back. Because again, I will put pops of sky through there back manually if I lose them. A little bit of yellow down. Bring that little tree up there. I like to put them around different places and different locations. This is a very chocked full area of leaves and detail. And grab a little bit more of my cad yellow and my cad red. Come right out here and do a little bit of a tree. Tree. It's floating right now. Got to connect it to something. Going to just very lightly touch this here. And come get more involved right there. Always interesting to work with yellows because they can be a little bit transparent, so you have to work pretty hard. Again, we're going to put some pops of sky back through, so don't worry. Take a little bit of my yellow over to my cad red. Come add a little yellow into the background tree color. Just give it some highlights, a few. Just building it up. Okay, that's looking pretty good over there for right now. While it's having a dry, let's go over here. And we're going to take a little bit of our phthalo blue and our cad yellow. Might take a little more phthalo blue, so it's kind of like a blue-green. Get a little bit of my ultramarine blue in there. Darkens it up, yeah?
Certainly does. Sometimes I don't know if you're asking the rhetorical question.
Well, it's probably always a little bit the rhetorical,
No,
but I don't
always.
mind when you answer. It's actually comforting. And take a little bit of white into that and create some mist effect over here as well. Could be hanging in low trees. So to do anything else, well, actually I've got one more area I can put in at this layer. Now I'm going to hit it later. I'm going to dry everything, and we're going to put in some structural trees and then put in our next layer of trees. So I'm going to take my round brush and I'm going to put my glasses on so I can see everything really, really well. I'm using my number 6 Raphael sepia round. If it's not tiny enough, I will get a smaller brush. Right now I'm going to load my Mars Black and my Burnt Sienna together, and we're going to come right here and just very carefully from these little bushes a little upward stroke. Having a little bit of flow problem, so I'm going to add some glazing liquid to my brush and my paint. I could also use water if I didn't have glazing liquid. I'm going to switch to a smaller brush.
I think I may have found a gremlin in our system. It's a cat. I was like, how come my camera keeps dimming? And I think it's because the cat over there jumping on the cables, and I think that's what it was. So sorry.
Is it all fixed?
I think it's okay. But
okay.
I have disruptive cat visitors, so.
Let's see if I can even pick this one up. I don't like it at all. It may come back up for me. Yep. So sometimes if your canvas underneath is very, very dry and the paint you have on your canvas isn't very, very dry, then you can erase, which is a really nice thing. Maybe a little one coming over. Little glazing liquid into the paint so that it flows off my brush nicely. Little delicate little branches coming this way and that way. I might make this more delicate too. See, so it's super easy to change your mind. If you paint something in and you're like, man, I don't like it quite like that, then you can just change it. I like that a little bit better. This is a fairy tale kind of forest, right? So now we're going to come through here, and I'm going to grab a little more of my Burnt Sienna and my Mars Black. If there's some glazing liquid in here, I'm going to see if I can do this brush right here. Just an upward little. There's a little tree happening here. Now this one I'm going to break up the trunk so that it's going in and out of the branches. don't like that. So again, this is one of those places where your brush marks can really annoy you.
That's funny.
Glazing liquid, a little more Mars black, a little burnt sienna. Now it's not black, it should read as a dark brown. Just little branches. Just a little bit here and there. I'm just painting little branches from my little tree. Just here and there. Little branches. Might go ahead and get a little bit of my blue and make sure that I've got little openings. I'm using my little brush. This is my sky color. Just little holes. Too much paint. Sometimes I get in there and I'm like, oh, that's too much paint. Just putting a little light. Just little bits through here and there. You just got to talk about the sky just the littlest bit. Now let's look overhead.
I was trying to adjust that. A little focus on that corner.
Little focus on that corner. You know, I think I'm going to put a more weighted branch, maybe heading off over here. Little bits there. And I'm going to come here with my white. Get a little bit of brown and white. Maybe even add a little yellow ochre to it. Just a little rough bark. It's got a highlight. See that going down?
Yeah, I do see it.
This is a little more considerate of a forest than we've done. A little bit in the higher 3 hoot range.
Yeah.
But that's good to do every once in a while, right? We just like to paint these little trees. Now I'm going to take this little mix over here to my burgundy. Add a little more white. It's kind of strange, I know. I added the little purple into it because back in the trees and everything, it's just a little more purple. There we go, just making sure.
That's really great.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
We're absolutely getting there. I'm going to take a little bit of my quinacridone over to my Doc's purple. Just a little bit, touches. Okay, let's dry everything, and when we come back, I will tell you what we're going to do next. So I'm going to start working this area over here. I'm going to grab my nice magenta, a little of my cad red, and a smidge of my Doc's purple. Create a nice kind of little burgundy-ish color. I even get a smidge of white into it, just so we can see it. And come here and start to think about this upward tree. I may have to put some of my sky back in. I don't know. We'll see how I hold it out.
It's okay. You can re-sky.
I can re-sky if I want to. I'll try to keep my sky. Sort of distant tree, so it's a little out of focus, a little fuzzy. Little low scumblies. And coming forward. Then I'm going to take a little bit of my cad red and my cad yellow, and I'll get some purple into it. It'll gray it a bit. Maybe a little more purple. This is sort of a middle range. Trying to make little irregular bushy shapes. Then I'm going to get into my cad red and cad yellow. Start to piece out some little orange detailing here. I haven't rinsed my brush, and that continuity of color is helping me here. So what that means is because I have this base color and I didn't rinse it, there's a bit of a micro mix that happens on the brush and makes it more believable in its space. Back over into my burgundy, trying to make sure I've got lots of little hues here. Bush, bush, bush. Bush, bush, bush. Bush, bush. Okay. And while that's having a think, I'll put my glasses back on. like everything's in trouble while it's having a think. Back into my little tree color, which is my burnt sienna and my Mars black. Sometimes I bring a little glazing liquid over to it so it comes off my brush easier. Just a little bit up in this tree. This little branch is peeking out. Can always get a little of my highlight. Just a little bit of a thought there. Too much water in my brush, so I had a hidden water drop. Add a little more black. These little trees are a little more in the background here. These are the little saplings that make up a little forest. You gotta have a little group of saplings. Take a drop of water over. Like I told you, you could use glazing liquid or water. They're both good. Just hidden little trees. little low branches. We're just trying to make a little bit of a grouping of twiggles. Hopefully I didn't clone too many.
Right.
That would be bad. The glazing liquid over to my Mars Black and my burnt sienna. I'm going to come right here, sort of out of this bush. Just imagining a little tree going up. Sometimes trees have like they kind of join from the bottom and then they work their way out, and it's fun to paint them. And once I have that little rocked one in, I might put another little one like either to this side or this side of this little twiggly bit going up a good minute. The glazing liquid into the Mars Black and burnt sienna or water. There we go. And take a little white over here, mix it into my bark color, make a nice highlight. Got a couple little ranges so I can mix through. Cast a line a couple places on the tree. Just little highlights up these trees just to give them some dimensionality, right?
Yeah.
But these are really deep in the forest. They don't really have any extra light. All right. I might go ahead and highlight this a little bit while I'm here just to make sure that our highlights are in similar ranges. Just like right there a little bit. If it's just I think it's a shade lighter, so I want to make sure I have a little bit of this over here. The color is sort of a couple of places. All right, now we're going to want to dry everything, and I'll show you the next layer of foresty leaves that we are going to be laying in here. Now I'm going to put in the path a little bit. I'm going to take a smidge of my Doc's purple over to my yellow ochre and get a little white. It kind of makes this little misty, distant sort of little roux. Far away. Maybe a little yellow ochre, burnt sienna. And just start to put some color down on my forest floor. I'm not even worried about highlights or shadows yet because I just need a certain amount of color on my path.
Sorry about that little dimming there. Some of it I can't control here.
Did it dim again?
It dimmed a couple times here, and so it's I'm going to do my best, but I may have to get a new cable there. So.
Oh my goodness. Well, after this little path step, we should fix it.
We'll see what we can do here.
I'm just pulling this here. Just the beginnings of a nice little pathway. Little thoughts. A little burnt sienna. This is much brighter than the path is, but it's a nice underpainting for the path. Kind of dry brush this little edge here. Bring a little white over to this. A little dry brushing. I'm going to take my little path color and add some blue to it to gray it up for up front here. The path is going to be as colorful as this whole painting. The graying of the ultramarine blue is super powerful.
Yeah, it is.
But already it's getting dirt-like.
Dirt-like.
That's what we're going for, dirt-like.
It is, it's true. We're trying to get a dirty-looking path.
Dirty, full of dirt, full of dirty dirt.
Dirty, dirty path.
Dirty, dirty path. Lots of colors. We're just starting with the colors. A little bit more yellow and a little bit more white. Bit there. Like that back to be a little bit more shaded and diminished. I'm going to take my background bush color and grab my ultramarine blue into it for this color back here. I want it just to vanish off in the distance. And you're also going to come here. I think I'm going to take a little bit of this color. Make sure that I've got a nice just want it a little darker back there. I like it. It'll just look nice when we put the forward trees on it. Take a little bit of my yellow ochre, a little bit of my Mars black. Right now I'm just layering in all the colors. I'm not even putting the lighting value in. I'm just giving it a base so that the dirt looks like it has dirt. And a little bit of my cad red and my docks purple. A little burnt sienna. Some of this lovely color to everything. A little more heavy over here. It's like you wouldn't normally think to, but I'm painting dirt, so let's get some burgundy involved. You know?
No.
But it's there.
I mean, when you think of burgundy, you think of Ron Burgundy, and
I
then
do.
you think of dirt. So, you know.
I don't know that my association goes right to dirt from Ron Burgundy, but I hear you. I hear you.
Well, your mind might just go right to the gutter, at least.
I'm going to grab a little bit of my ultramarine blue into my brush. My brush is dirty. These little colors make a difference. If you were out plein air painting, you would see so many colors that you wouldn't expect to see. That's why the Impressionists that did a lot of on-the-ground painting had such beautiful colors in their paintings. They were inspired by the nature that they saw and the way light played in the environment. We can take lessons from that. And let it inform our paintings today in our kind of modern contemporary. It's kind of a modern contemporary painting. Contemporary modernism. I'm just making sure there's a little blue kind of coming in the dark area where the path is a little bit darker. And grabbed a little bit of my sky color to add blue, to add a little white. I love my paths. Feel like you can get lost in them. Rinse out. I'm going to take a little bit of my cad red and my cad yellow. And I'll get my burnt sienna involved. And that just really pops. Going to my burgundy. There we go. You're doing great. Just keep touching little colors to your path.
Yeah, I like the path.
Concentrating my dark colors up front. I'm not really lighting my path yet. I'm just trying to light it. When you're weaving up a path, it's nice to use the colors that are surrounding in the path. A little white. Again, this is just the start of a path. We have lots to do here. We're just making sure we've got...
Adding light and layers.
Yeah, we have to have a basic level of layers in before we can even come in and finish anything.
Sure, yeah.
I'm kind of eking this up here so it looks like the path turns a little. A little bit more dry brushy up front here. Now we got some nice baseline color down. Some beginning. Not nearly the end, my friends, but a good beginning, a good start.
We're on a path to the path.
We're on a path to our path. Now, before I do anything else, I'm going to want to dry everything. It's been a long painting session, so be sure that you are taking regular breaks, standing and stretching. You don't have to sit there with the video like just trapped to your chair the entire time. We might
even stop for coffee or something.
Yeah, so I recommend, doing this in segments and taking breaks mentally and physically for your well-being, because it's a big project. All right, let's dry everything, and when we come back rested, I will tell you what we do next. So I'm here with the number 8 Raphael d'Artigny round, and I'm going to lay in some war trees. I'm going to take a little bit of my cad yellow and my cad red together, and I'm going to make a nice bright orange. And then I'm going to mix some of that with purple. Some of that with some purple. Bring some purple over here. And it's going to give me a nice fall rust color. And come over here. And we'll go ahead and really through here kind of solidly put this in. And then we're going to put sky back in, if that makes sense. Make this little edge good. Come down a little bit. And as I'm coming forward, I'm going to add a little bit of orange to this and some yellow. Just kind of brightens it up. Sort of blend them together. A little more yellow. Interestingly enough, I think I'm going to get some white involved. Get a little peached up.
Super cute color.
Yeah, a little bit. Just kind of thinking about how this tree really comes out here. And again, I'm going to bring a lot of this back with my sky color, for sure. So it's kind of like a dark middle light in this first layer. Rinse out. Guess what we're doing again?
Paint in layers.
Dark middle light. Back into our purple to get that burnt. And then we're going to come down, oh gosh, right in this area. Make another little, maybe a little even more. There we go. A little browner. I lost a branch I like, but that's okay. Sometimes that's why I'm like, don't paint the best tree of your life in certain places. I'm going to go ahead and get into my lighter orange here. Maybe join these up a little bit. Come over into some white, kind of peach it up. Maybe a little more white. I like to add little loose leaves just so that they kind of give the trees interesting little edges. And back into my orange. Come right here. I've got a couple. I'm going to go back into my orange and maybe a little bit with my purple to gray it. Just a titch. Just a little. And I'm going to come here and make some little these are kind of little low tree branches. We'll be adding some trees over that. That's sort of, those are hiding into the forest a bit. I'm going to come over here. And again, a little bit of the dark color. It's a little bit in the middle here. I'll have to put some light back in my tree. A little cad red, a little cad yellow. Now on this painting, whether you have a 6 or an 8, you can use either interchangeably on this brush. They're really close to the same size, just to show you they're not that far off on size. So don't feel stressed about it if you don't have the exact brush or exact size as I change through. Not a big deal. Just really hit some orange here. A little more yellow. And this one here, back here, is just some slightly different colors than the, it's a little brighter than the trees around it. And these are what we're trying to capture is the leaves behind the tree, and then we put leaves in front of the tree. We're just trying to get both the leaves, a little more red here. Just a little bit. Okay. Now to do the next part, I'm going to need to dry this so that I can layer the tree over it. So let's dry it. When we come back, we'll layer the tree over it. All right, so I'm going to want to put some bigger, more focal trees here. I'm going to take a little bit of my brown and my Mars black together and make a nice dark brown. It's not black, it's a dark brown. I'm going to come right here and grow a tree. Growing a tree. Sometimes when I'm doing these like I am right here, where I'm just kind of planting the forest as I go, yep, I will lose a few little trees in the background. They become diminished. Just planting some little trees.
That's a nice tree, though.
Nice little tree. It's just sitting up there doing its little tree things. And then I want to paint another little tree next to it, kind of coming forward, right, one right here. It kind of just goes a little bit forward. And off the canvas as well. It's got a bit of a lean on it, because sometimes trees in the forest get a little bit of lean going. Just trying to make my tree feel sturdy. Just little twiggies coming off here and there. Now I've got my little highlight color. And I'll get kind of like a slightly darker highlight, and then I'll work it up. A little bit lighter though. It's got to show.
Right, got to be some difference in shade tone.
Yeah, it has to have some value where it shows. Otherwise, you're going to work, gosh, twice as hard to get the same kind of effect. Just painting. Oh, this is just so pretty. It's a little song.
Yeah, it's a nice path.
It's a lovely path. I want to walk on this path. You know, we can't always afford to live in the locations that have this as the scenery, because sometimes these cost more money. But you can always paint the view you want from the beach house you always dreamed about. You know, whatever your personal wishes have ever been, you can definitely come through and create your own windows in your house. Just lighting up the tree. Okay, those are looking tree-like. There's some treeness to these. I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to take a little bit of my cad yellow into my phthalo blue, and I'm going to make this nice dark blue-green. And we're going to just put some of this little value on here. Sometimes I'll get a little more cad yellow into it. This is like a little leaf litter. I can get a little burnt sienna in there if I need to darken it. Make it go foresty green. And again, we're going to put a lot of purple and orange through here, so this little green will just be peeking through. I'm going to wipe my brush with my towel, pull a little yellow aside, and you'll notice that I make kind of a nice lighter green, the yellow. I might get some ultramarine blue in there just to gray it a bit. Just a few little spots. Maybe add some brighter green. Okay, rinse that out. Little green pops here and there. I'm going to get into my Cad Red and my Quin Magenta. Just creating a little leaf litter in the shade. This is why we have dark green and light green, because the leaf litter is, you know, maybe picking up a little light.
It has many colors on the ground.
But it's many colors on the ground. Come over here and add a little purple into it. Many colors on the ground. A little bit darker right here, perhaps, a little more shaded. And then I can come into my orange with my purple, as you can see. So I haven't rinsed my brush. Just leaving little peaks of green kind of coming, hinting in and out, so that there's that balance between those things. Get a little bit more of my Cad Red and my Cad Yellow, but I haven't rinsed my brush. Just pulling some leaf litter here and there. See how that creates a little light that hit that part? We're just popping little pops of light here. Just a little pop of light. All right. Let's try everything and then let's do the next step. So I'm going to kind of fill in my little foresty area over here. I'm going to get back into these little kind of wild greens. I'm going to get in my green into my orange here. A little more yellow. Bring a little white over to that, kind of gives me some turquoise, which I really like. Mix it into my green here. It's real pretty. Go into my white a bit. Maybe some yellow. quite pops, quite big pops.
Super colorful.
Super colors. All right, I'm going to grab a little bit of my red and yellow, and I'm going to take it over to my quinacridone. Even more into my purple. There we go. So it's just the beginning is where we talk about the leaf litter, right? Tapping along there, just tapping little leaf litter. Leaf litter peeks in with this. Little peaks of green. Leaf litter. Maybe get a little docks on there. I haven't rinsed my brush. Back and forth, kind of little curved strokes. I'm just making sure that my canvas feels like you could walk into this forest.
Right.
That's
Feels
what you're going
inviting.
for. You want to feel invited onto the path. You want to feel like it's pulling you in. And we're just starting to build up all this sort of plant material. A little more red into the mix.
The detritus.
Detritus, yes. It's a good word for what we're doing.
$2 word.
It's a $2 word.
Maybe $3.
You think?
It could be. Could be $3.
It could be $3 word. Do you remember in school when you didn't know a word and you had to walk over to the dictionary and look it up and then write down the definition so you could know it? How do kids learn anything now? I don't know. I don't know how they learn.
Just corrects them automatically.
I hope that's working. Because I definitely needed the walk to the dictionary. Now, keep in mind, I trust teachers, so however you run your classroom, I'm sure you with your degree in education know way better than I do.
No, also.
I'm just, as a teacher, you can be like, do you miss if you've been teaching long enough to remember the dictionary days?
Yeah.
Versus now, do you like how we're teaching now, or did you like the dictionary days better?
Well, there was
Told my kids to look it up in the dictionary. They looked at me like I had lost my mind.
Then there's the encyclopedia, where you went for knowledge. And, like, you were lucky if you had an encyclopedia.
I didn't have one.
Yeah, much less, like, a
I had to go to the library.
Multiple set of them. But what was really great is when
I'm taking a lighter orange here that I'm leafing in while we're all just talking about dictionaries.
Cite work from your set of dictionaries that would be counted as wrong because it is actually incorrect in the dictionaries. And you bring the dictionaries in and say, look, it was in the book.
I remember that the book was wrong. And how was I supposed to know? Oh, this is good. This is good. All right. I need to dry this. No, actually, I may not need to dry it to get the tree in. The tree may just go in.
Just go in.
Yeah, it may just go in. We're going to put a nice big tree right here. I'm going to actually do this brush for just a second. Or maybe I'll size down just so that I just want kind of like a bigger brush that will hold a little more paint. So I'll just use a 6 real quick. You could stay on the 8 if you wanted to. I'm just being fussy. Or you can use, if you don't have this, you could just use the number 6 Raphael Sepia. You can see what I mean? This brush just carries a little more paint with it. So sometimes that's why I might pick that.
growing the trees.
Growing the tree. I'm giving my tree a believable structure.
It's a ground up structure.
It's a ground up structure. Quite a lovely big tree. And while I'm here, I will go ahead and grab my 6 round sepia, just so I have a nice, taking my burnt sienna and my Mars black. I'm going to come right here. Just giving it some little branches that go off of it. That one goes out a little bit far. That one as well. And then I'm going to get into my little gray mixture here. A little more brown in it. Paint up this tree.
It's an excellent tree.
Slightly lighter. I'll wipe off my brush and just load on the toe some of this highlight color. Maybe a little more brown up here, so it's just a little bit lighter up at the top. That's nice. That's a little dimensionality. Just kind of do a space there, so I'm kind of creating some shape to the tree. Sometimes you gotta give the tree some shape so the tree looks like it could hold up the leaves.
Because leaves are a heavy thing.
Heavy!
They get heavy in the rain.
Leaves are heavy. Grab a little bit of yellow into my green. Get some white involved. Just trying to find my little crazy green yellow color. Little tiny floater leaves. Add a little more white to it. Painting a little bit. These are like little little bits. If I have to gray them, I'll just come over with a glaze if they're too bright. Sometimes that'll happen. I'll get in there and I'm like, oh, I want you more in the shade. And then I can kind of push it back through some other methods. I get a little bit of my yellow and my green. Just fun and different little colors. I may come back with my fluffy brush, because I think my fluffy brush does the leaves really well. Get some just red on here. I'm mixing in this red, which is sort of noticing knocking this back a little bit so it's not so the brightest thing on the painting. Little scribbles for little distant bushes in the background. Little leaf litter. Little light there. Knocking this little area back a bit. It's just too much. Okay, now I'm going to take a little bit of my green and my burnt sienna. Oh, drop. Watch the drop. Try to get a better bring it back into the red. Just kind of along here. Just want it more muted like on the other side. So if it ever gets away from you, look, you can just push it back and then it works out. I'm going to also come here and just kind of brush over some of that bright green with a slightly darker green, kind of tone that down. Oh, that's a little bit better. And put some of this green leaf litter in here, but it's darker. It's looking pretty good. Okay, let's dry everything and then I'll show you what's next when we come back. All right, so we're going to add some more leaves to the trees. I'm going to use the number 6 Raphael's art, and you can use the 8 or the 6, or you can use this. Any of these will work. We're just going to do some more leafy leaves. I'm going to take a little bit of my cad yellow to my cad red. I'm going to make a nice orange. And we're going to come through here. Maybe get a little darker. The burgundy. I like that a lot. I'm going to make a nice run of forward leaves that cross the tree. See, these are the ones that come forward a bit. get onto my purple a little bit as I come down, and that's just going to and then I'm going to get more yellow involved. Little bright pops up top. Brighter orange coming forward. Very, very yellow. Just little bits of this tree coming forward. A little more orange. If it goes in the back, it's just a little darker. Lots of yellow, a little bit of white. That creates that little highlight. And little highlights all through there. Just popping up those little highlights. Like letting them come forward. Little cad red, little queen magenta. I'm going to get some sky color. And then put some little lights in the trees again. Isn't that nice when you see those little lights going into the trees? Always. A little bit blue up top. All right, let's look at that from overhead. So we should have little key lights popping through of light. Making that little edge a little more uneven, a little more thought out. Coming over here. I just wiped my brush off with my towel because it was too wet. That's something to just watch for, is that your brush can be too wet. Just putting down a little orange in front. See, some leaves go in front, some leaves going back. Kind of building the little nice arboretum here. All right, a little more yellow. Just lift it up. All right, that's looking pretty fun. Let's dry everything. We come back, we'll work on our path a little bit. Now I'm looking and I feel like this is a big empty spot in my forest, so I'm going to take a little bit of my cad yellow and my cad red together. Make a nice yellow, nice orange, and kind of paint a fuller tree coming out this way. Yeah, a little more yellow. So I'll say we're just filling out the forest a bit. More yellow as we come out. And I can put back in pops of sky if I need them, which I will. There we go. That pushes this back a little bit. And I'm going to get a little of my kind of burgundy with white, I think. which is this tree right here, and I'm just going to fill this tree in through here. See how I'm filling that tree in? Adding back a few little pops through the leaves, so it feels like light's coming through the forest, which I think we're doing pretty good at. Now I'm going to take a little of my yellow ochre, my burnt sienna, and some Mars black, and then quite a lot of white. And then right here, going to add a little patch of light. Be very just delicate back here. I even pinch my brush so I can make smaller marks. Just little distant light moments in the path up ahead. Oh, it did a thing where it got dark.
It'll come back here in a second.
Oh, cool.
There it goes.
All right. Come here and grab a little of my white into my yellow green. A little more green. Just little highlights here and there. Might pop one back here a little bit, just very lightly. Maybe get a little more green. Just popping that around. Okay. I'm going to take some of my quinacridone and some of my Doc's purple together. Make sure I kind of purple out this little edge here. I like to add in little bits of shadow. Getting into my red. Just little leaves that are falling. Yeah, I agree. I don't know if y'all heard Vigo, but he agrees. Yeah. Meow, meow. I think I'm going to go into my orange here. Kind of soften that back up. I think somebody needs a hug. Into my red. And we're just pulling some of the corners from the forest floor in. A little less light than that. Just tapping it out and just seeing where we're at. So I'm going to get a little bit of my quin, my purple, and my red. Just make a nice little sort of shadow across here. And then as I come forward, take a little bit of my purple and my burnt sienna. Let's add some shadows. Just up into here, just a few little shadows. And back into my yellow ochre and white. I haven't rinsed. Just kind of creating a little bit of dynamic interest. So really this is the stage where you just look at all the spots, all the places. I'm going to grab a little bit of my cad red and my quin magenta, and I'm going to come up here and close up this section of the forest. I'll leave little pops of sky. But I just want to make it a little fuller off to the right. Now I'll grab a little bit of my orange. Little cad red, little cad yellow. Even it looks brown on the palette, on the canvas it'll look quite orange. There we go. So that's a little more filled in. So that side of the forest has a few more leaves on it. You know, the ground, see if you need any more detritus. That's their word for the day.
Yeah.
And then once you have everything to where you like it, you want to pick a color. I'm going to go ahead and add some white to my little burgundy over here to create a color that I could sign with. So you want to sign in a way that's not going to throw off the whole painting.
Sure, yeah.
Right? You wouldn't want to use like brat green right here. Like a bright neon green would not be the right one. I guess, unless you were Charlie XCX, and then you would. But that would be appropriate for them.
There's always a way to break a rule.
Always a way to break a rule. And I point that out, the person that can break the rules, because sometimes as a painter, your signature can become part of the composition. I've seen several artists do that, where some element of their signature just actually pulls into the painting. So my little like thoughtful color match is like just a minor thing compared to what some artists will get into. They will like do like really ornate signatures. And I'm just like, I'll write my name. All right. When we come back, I'll tell you what you do next. Woo! I cannot believe we got through this. This is a beautiful forest. I plan to drop a bunch of autumn landscapes, but this is like one I have really, really wanted to do. So I'm really glad I got to manage to get this out of my head and onto the canvas. Though at the end of the day, as fun as it is for me to paint it, it's also really important that you had fun and that you enjoy your painting. That's why I have a YouTube channel. So if you did and you'd like to share that with me, just hashtag the Art Sherpa anywhere on social media, or I have on Facebook a closed curated group that's called the Art Sherpa Official, and it's just for art, just for my tutorials, and you can come in and share and ask questions like art questions and all of that in there. And so just answer the 3 questions and be approved, because we do check for human. We do have a human checkpoint system.
That's true.
In the group, so we don't get a lot of bots or any of that. Maybe I've enticed you back to Facebook just a little bit.
Right.
But if not, you can also write me at support@theartsherpa.com or share with me over in the chat on Patreon. So there's a bunch of places that you can share your version with me. Long story short, I love to see your paintings. That's my favorite part of this whole process. So there's nothing else for you to do but be good to yourself, be good to each other, and I want to see you at an easel real soon. Bye-bye.